Welcome back to my Create MERN Stack tutorial series from scratch. And in this tutorial, we are going to actually work on Redux, and we are going to implement in our React application. And we are also going to use Redux Toolkit to write our Redux logic. It's gonna be fun and exciting, guys. Before we jump into the code, I'm gonna show you quickly what we're going to do today. We are going to use Redux and Redux Toolkit to integrate in our React application like this. Before we dive into the coding, we're going to quickly look what is Redux and how it works in the diagram. And what happens is that every time we load the, let's say, tickets, we will fetch all the ticket from our database. If we go to our network tab, here you can see the ticket has been fetched from our database backend here. And this ticket is stored in our Redux. We are using Redux dev tool. So here you can see we are going to fire different event like fetch ticket loading, fetch ticket success, and based on that ticket we are updating our state, and from our Redux state we are fetching all the data in our ticket page. And now we can source the ticket based on the ticket title. Let's say if you want to source this ticket only, let's say we have to type SSL, and as you can see the action has been triggered here. And if we delete everything, the action is still triggering, and then all the ticket is shown. So this is all happening with the React Redux, coming data from our backend API, and all the data is mounted in our Redux store, and we are using Redux Toolkit to write our Redux logic. Hey, if you are here for the first time, my name is Premacharya from Dented Code. I create tutorial related to full stack web development. If you are interested in learning in full stack web development, please subscribe the channel and turn on all the notifications. Without saying, let's jump into the computer. So what is Redux? The Redux is a predictable state container for apps. So what it's saying is that the Redux library is not bound to any application or framework. So it can be used in React, Vue, or any other like application that you can write with this. But this is mostly famous with React though. And Redux is predictable, centralized, debuggable, and flexible. This thing will make sense when we start building our app. I have made a diagram to explain you a little bit. Let's say you have this React application where you have an app component, the entry point of your application, and you may have multiple pages, and each page may have multiple components, and then the components may have more components like children components and children component of children components as well. For example, this is our little app, and we want to integrate, for example, our global state for this application. Let's say we have a user and ticket object that we need to manage through the global state. So what happens is that when we integrate a global state with the Redux, we will provide a huge file to our entry point of the application, which is normally index.js, that we will look into it when we start creating the application. Once the application is set up with the Redux, now every component can access to this global state without going through the parent component. So for example, let's say we have a tickets object and the user object in our global state. If you see here all the way down here, I have made ticket component here, form component here, and user component here. So what happens is that if there is any ticket in our state, the ticket component will listen and pulls all the ticket and then displays the ticket, for example. And let's say you have a user component. User component is listening the global state and only listening for the user object. If there is any change on this user object, then we can re-render the user component. And that's the pulling data. Let's say if you want to update the state, what we can do, let's say for example we have form component where we have a button click event. Let's say you fill up the form and you want to submit the form. For example, maybe you want to add a new ticket. In that case, when we have a on click event happens on the button, we can simply update the global state inside the ticket object. And as soon as we update the ticket object here, the ticket component here will get re-rendered, because this component is listening to the ticket object through the global state. So that is the simplest way to explain how the Redux works. So rest of the thing you'll understand when we start building actual application. Before dive into the coding, if you are following along from beginning, so you already have everything set up and ready to go. But if you are just jumping into learning to integrate the Redux toolkit, so what you do, go to this GitHub. I'll put the link in the description below, and pull the before Redux Toolkit branch from this repo. So all the code you need is here in this branch. So I have that code already open in my VS Code here, and what we're gonna need is I'm also going to use Redux Dev tool here. It is very easy to use. Let's say if you really want to master the Redux, you probably need to use the Redux Dev tool. And we are going to, I'm going to leave this window open for the Redux Toolkit, because we are going to reference few things. So if you are still wondering what is Redux Toolkit, it is basically the official opinionated battery included toolset for efficient Redux development. So we are going to integrate our Redux with Redux Toolkit. So let's start coding then. I have already opened my backend API here, and I have run the application here already. So I'm just going to minimize this one. We are not going to do anything here. Just we're going to fetch the data from this API, and then this is the code. Okay, so first thing, let's go with the document side by side. So when we go to the Redux Dev tool here and get started, we need to install a package first. So the package that we're going to install is the Redux.js/toolkit. So let's do that. Let's say npm install. We need the @js/toolkit, and we also need React Redux. We need this React Redux tool to connect our React application and the Redux library, because as I said earlier, Redux is not bound to any application like React. So it's individual library. So it's standalone library. So we need something to connect between these two parts. So the React Redux will do that, and just hit enter and let it install. While it's installing, I want to show you something. So what happens with our backend API is that if we access to this URL, and let's say if we send request to this URL endpoint, we will receive a list of tickets here. Our tickets. Okay, I'm just gonna do this one for now to avoid this, because we created this application I think a few months ago, so we haven't touched anything. So yeah, some of the library we are using might have some vulnerability, so let it go. So let's run the application and npm start. Okay, so our server is ready for development, and the application is loading here in localhost port number 3000. Okay, the application is loaded here. So we are not going to work on login at the moment. So I want you to understand the Redux concept with the simple task first, and then we will go into the complex stuff. So if we go to, let's say, dashboard, and we have menu called here ticket. If we click onto the ticket, see we have the list of the ticket here, and you can source the ticket from here. Let's say key enter event, the ticket is filtered here and then displayed here. And if you have nothing here, we have all the ticket. So this ticket, this is currently coming from our static file in our application, which is in our asset, this one dummy ticket here. So what we want to do is that we want to fetch the ticket from our RESTful API here, v1/ticket, and we will fetch all of these tickets, and then we will render in our application like so. Let's do that. So to do that, first we need to go to the ticket component. I'm going to make this one on the side, and this is, I just wanted to show you, you don't need to have this. The ticket is in the, let's open the app file, app.js. So our /ticket is this one, /tickets. So that's basically rendering our ticket list component or page. So I'm going to close this everything here so that no confusion. Let's close the side menu. Okay, so here we are basically importing our dummy ticket and then adding up here. So we are not doing that. We are going to fetch from the server. So let's actually start writing the code for Redux and Redux Toolkit. So first thing, I want to start with the store file. So what we have to do is that, you know what, while coding here, maybe I want to show you something. Let me do inspect here, and then if you see here, if you have installed this dev tool, Redux dev tool, you will see option here saying Redux, where we can see all the state through the Redux. So there is nothing yet. So I want you to see the changes happening here as we work. Let's go and follow the instruction. So first, create the store. So to create the store, we need to use something called create store, like so here. So in our code, let's go to our root directory of the src, and here open up a file called store.js, and inside we are going to import this configure store from our Redux toolkit. So do import. So import this configure store. We need this one in order for us to configure the store. So here we're going to create a variable called store. We will wrap all our reducer within this store. So to do that, simply pass the configure store, and we have to provide the object here. So the object includes reducers. So first thing you need to write is reducer like here, because it takes reducer only, and inside the reducer we can pass the list of the reducer. So there is nothing at the moment. Let's save that and let's export this store. So simply say export default store and save this file, and let's bring this store and integrate in our React application first. So go to our index.js, the entry point of our React application, and here we need to import two things. First, we need to import something called provider from our React Redux. Remember, I was telling you before, we need to connect our application with the Redux library using React Redux. So say import from we need provider, and we also need to import the store that we just created. So that's in the root folder. The file name is store, and we need the store. And the way we connect our application with the Redux store is simply wrap the app component by provider. So write the provider component and pass the props called store and pass this store variable that we just imported, and wrap the application like so. Okay, sorry, pass the store here, pass this store as a props value, and save the file. And if we look into our application now, there you go, our application is still working, and now we have the we have access to the DevTool environment here. Now we are going to see everything we are working with the Redux will be available here. Okay, basic setup is done. Now what we need to do is we start working. Okay, we can close this. Now we can start working on stores. So for example, if you go to our the diagram here, remember this is the global state. So we have user and ticket. The user and tickets, they are the kind of reducer as well. So user one, user reducer, another one ticket reducer. Let's think that way first. So for example, let's say we are going to use ticket reducer. So we need to create the reducer and import here. So let's go and create that in the ticket list. Okay, let's work on that. So let's see what documentation say us how to do it. Okay, let's go to this one, writing the slice reducer. So in terms of the Redux Toolkit, now we are using term as a slice. So slice, you think of like this. So slice is a small slice or a small part of the whole state. So now ticket is a slice of the whole state, right? So we call ticket slice, for example. So that ticket reducer is the slice of the whole state. So let's write the slice reducer, and we import in our store file. Let's create the our reducer for the ticket. So the way it recommends us to do is that basically we write that slice, that reducer inside the feature. So in our case, we have to, since this ticket listing page is here, let's create the file inside the ticket list here. I want to create the file name, let's say ticket slice. We are just following the recommendation by the docs. So let's say, for example, here they are doing to do slice, so we are going to do tickets, probably do ticket slice. So this is the reducer, okay, slice reducer, so tickets reducer. So here we need to import the create slice from the React Redux Toolkit. I'm simply going to copy paste in this ticket slice. So once we imported the create slice, let's give a name, anything for this this slice. Maybe let's say okay, I'm gonna say in my case ticket list slice, and here we are now going to create slice, and this one also takes the object, and in object we have to provide three main things. The name first. So what's the name you want to call to this slice? I'm gonna say ticket list, and the another one we need to provide the initial state. So let's say initial state, and maybe it's good idea we define the initial state on the top. So we are going to have few things in our ticket. So of course we're going to have tickets. That's the type of array, and we're going to have is loading because we want to show spinner when the application is fetching data from server. So for now false. And the third one is error. Let's say in case if there is an error in the application while fetching the data, we can show that error. So let's keep that for now, and we provide this in the initial state. You can simply pass these values directly here as well, but let's separate them. Looks clean and easy to read. And the next we need is the reducers, like this one here. So it has to be reducers here, guys. You cannot type anything else, and inside we can list few of them. So now we can write the reducer. So in our case we have, let's say, fetching ticket, right? So let's do three reducers here. The first one being, let's say, the fetch ticket loading reducer, and I'm gonna say fetch ticket success reducer, and the fetch ticket fail reducer. Let's say if we fail to fetch from backend server and we have some error, we need to handle that. So we have these three things. So these are the function basically I'm passing as a parameter. So what happens is that every time we define reducer here, we always receive two things. The first one is state and the second one is action. So close that and then provide the arrow function here. I just put this to here like so. So you can direct write function here like this, but I prefer doing the ES6 way. So we have a fetch ticket loading reducer that receives states and the action. Okay, well, don't worry about that, don't get confused with that. And here what happens basically, so every time we call this reducer, this state is not the exact copy of this initial state. So this one basically makes like a draft under the hood, and if we update this state down here, what happens is that the Redux Toolkit compares with the initial state, and it is a deep comparison, and if there is any update to this state, this will update to our initial state. So now it seems like we can mutate the data here, which I'll show you in a second, but under the hood it will use something similar to something called MERN to update the state without mutating the data. So we'll see that in a second. And in our case, what's going to happen here is that in our fetching ticket loading reducer, we are going to do only one thing. So that is state dot, we are accessing to this is loading property, this one, and we say now true. So if you see this pattern here, basically we are accessing to our state and then accessing to our property, and we are mutating data straight away. So that is definitely not the right way to work with the state. But what happens here, since we are using Redux Toolkit, it wraps everything under the hood and then do the deep clone of this in state here and then update this state, and then after this state is updated and written, it compares the actual previous state, and then if there is any changes, then it will update in our whole state. So let's say is loading equals to true, and we are not doing anything, so we don't need action here, so I'm going to remove that. But we need this. I'm going to copy this one and do for our fetch success. So here we're going to need the action, and action always have a payload there, and any data you want to provide in that action, we will have to access through the payload, which you will see in a second how it works. So first here, once the fetch ticket is successful, we will say the is loading to false, and we will need to update our tickets as well, right? So do state the tickets now equals to, we can say action dot payload. So action always will have payload. This is the only way we receive the data. Okay, and let's do similar thing to our fetch ticket fail condition. We will receive state and action, and in this action we will send a list of ticket, and in this first ticket fail action we will receive actual error message. I'm gonna say action dot payload, this one supposed to be error, action dot payload. Or if you want to make it more readable, here you can destructure straight away. So if you do that, you don't have to refer to this action like this. And actually not ticket, so we need the is loading also false, because by the time we get the error message, the loading should have been completed. So is loading false, and now we can pass payload like this. You can do this way, or you can do this way too. So I like this way more, so I just leave both the way for you to see. Okay, and okay, yeah, that's all done. So what happens now, we have a ticket list slice created. So every time you create ticket slice with the create slice, so it will provide two things for us: one, reducer, and action creator. Now we don't have to create both things. So from here, let's destructure first, const. So that's the ticket slice that we are creating whole thing here. So this one will provide us two things: reducer and the actions. And let's export them. So we can export reducer as a default, export default reducer, and we can export the action as well. But I want to show you something. Inside the action, we will have all this one, the reducer we have created. Now the Redux Toolkit will convert all of this reducer as an action creator. So we can basically destructure and pull all of individual lists and export them separately. So what we can do, we can say const from actions. So from this action, we have access to each of them, but as an action creator. So now we can say fetch ticket fail, fetch ticket is loading, and fetch ticket success, and fetch ticket save. Let's write in the multi-line. So now if I hover over, see, you can see this here, reducer. So it's saying tickets, loading, and the error. So that's the object reflecting from the reducer. And if I hover to my action, now you can see all the action. Oops. See, you can see the fetch ticket loading, ticket fetch ticket success, and the fetch ticket fail as an action creator. So now we can, since we can export this one, let's type the export so we don't have to do anything else like that. Now we have created reducers and we have created action creator just by writing this much code. Imagine in the previous old way of writing the Redux, you have to create the reducer in separate file and action in separate file, and that was like really pain in the ass. So now since we have all this ready, now we can create this import this reducer in our store.file. Remember I mentioned before we have to pass the reducer here. Let's import that. So the slice, ticket slice, is inside the ticket list, and which is inside the pages. So let's go to the pages, ticket list, and the ticket slice, and here let's name it tickets reducer. And now we can just pass this one here, and you want to name something that is easy to understand when we run our application. I want to show you this one here. So if you see here, you got nothing here. So in our state, you want to provide some name that is understandable here. Let's say since this is the ticket reducer which will hold the ticket, we can do so and then provide the reducer name. When I save this file, look at the change here. Did you see that? Now we have a state now, ticket is loading an error, which is coming from our ticket slice, which was in our initial state. So now that's coming in here. So this one is coming as a ticket. So if I, let's say, change something, let's say random gibberish that we don't understand, this is how it's going to come here. And next time if you want to access this object, you might be confused. So put something meaningful as per your reducer. So I'm going to say tickets for now and save the file. So basically our whole store is set up. Now all we need to do is actually fetch the data from external resources and update our tickets array here. Let's work on that now. So to do that, we need to create something called action. So let's create the action in our same folder. So I'm going to go inside the ticket folder and I'm going to say tickets action.js, and here we're going to create few things. So first let's do fetch all ticket, const fetch all tickets, and this is like a high order component. We are going to run high order component because Redux Toolkit comes with the thunk library. What it does is that it will allow us to write the asynchronous function. So what happens is that whenever we create the action, it will provide us the way to paste the data, and we can just wait the data and then pass on to our function. So to do that, first let's create a function, and that function receive another function. That another function receive the dispatch, and inside the dispatch now we are going to do all the coding here. So this is called high order function, guys. If you don't know what is high order function, let me show you what. So basically, let's say you have function A, and inside the function you have a function B, and then you are returning C, and then once the C is returned, you also returning the function B here, written like this. So this is like a high order function, the function that takes the function. So if you write this one in ES6 way, so you don't have to do this way. So the way you write in ES6 way is that you simply say const A and then provide this function, because A is not receiving any function. Actually you're supposed to pass the parenthesis here, so you are not receiving any parameter here, and you calling another function but you are receiving dispatch here, so that's called B function, and then go inside there, so with the arrow function like so. So this is the ES6 way of writing high order function. So let's do that. So we receive dispatch like that, and here what we're going to do is we're going to we don't need that. So we're going to import these action creators that we created in our ticket slice. So let's import these action creators so that we can dispatch to this one. Okay, state is coming from, let's say, initial state or the state of the application. If you are wondering where the action and payload and data coming from, so this is where we're going to pass from our action here. So let's import them here. It's from the ticket slice. Now what we want to do is that inside this function we want to dispatch this function here. So the first thing we want is, let's say if you are going to fetch the data from external source here, fetch the data from API. So before we actually fetching, what we want to do is we want to first dispatch is loading. So what it does is that when we do dispatch loading, it will invoke this reducer and then updates the state with is loading true. And now we can actually do the fetching part. So let's fetch the data. So I'm going to use Xeo. Let me see if I have Xeo installed or not. Okay, let's install the Xeo since there is no Xeo install. So I'm going to say npm install hit enter, and it will install the Xeo. Now let's close that. Let's import the Xeos on the top here. Xeos from Xeos, and okay, let's run that fetching part in try catch block. Okay, the installation is completed. I'm gonna do npm start, let the application run. And here in error, what happens if we fail to fetch this data from server? We are going to fetch the fail action creator. So let's dispatch that in our error. So in our error, we will have a message. We can simply take the message out of the error and send it like so. And here let's do the actual. Let me open this one on the side as well. So we pass this error here. Now if you go back to our slicer, you see we are providing payload in our error. So this is payload. This is the payload which is holding our data through here. So let's get the data. So I'm gonna say const result now await and axios.get, and we need to provide the few things here. The first, we need to provide URL, and we also need to provide the authorization header, because if you see here in our request, I didn't show you before, but in authorization header I have a JSON web token. So that's what we have integrated in the backend API. So we need to provide this one as well. So I'm gonna just copy that. Actually, let's copy the URL. Let's pass the URL first, and as an option, if you want to provide the JSON web token or any header, you need to provide inside the headers, and inside you can say authorization and pass that token. If you are not sure where I got this token from, I have a login as well, and when I do login, it gives me the new token here. So that's all done in our creating API tutorials. Maybe you want to go and check out those tutorials first if you want to know about them. Okay, anyway, let's get back to our coding here and pass this JSON web token and save that. So now let me show you what it comes from the server. So console log result, and also I want to see as well what's coming from database first. And now we need to export. We haven't dispatched anything yet, guys. We're going to do that in a second. I can simply just simply say dispatch, and then we dispatch this action creator here, and just send the empty parameter for, because I want to see how the data is coming. So save that, and we need to export our function here. So let's say, actually I want to just export from here only. Just to export like so. So our fetch all ticket action is ready and exported. Let's kick this action from our application. So go to our ticket.list page. This is the application where basically we are rendering our ticket. For example, when you refresh this page, on refresh, every time when the page is loading, it will get all the ticket and then renders here. So let's go back in the ticket list component, and inside this component we need to bring a few things. First, we need to bring something called useDispatch from our React Redux. So, and we also need to import the action. I'm gonna say import the action we just created, which is in the same folder in the ticket action, and here we just created before, if you remember this one here. Let's import that as well. And now with the help of useDispatch, we can dispatch this action from this component. So to do that, first we need to define the constant for the dispatch equals to say use dispatch. It's a function, and let's use this dispatch to dispatch our fetch all ticket here in our use effect. So if we do that, what happens, anything you write here only executes once when the component is loading. So we're going to say the dispatch the fetch all tickets here, and we are not passing any parameter here. Let's save that. Okay, it's throwing error saying the page ticket action JS not found, cannot resolve ticket slash end pages ticket hyphen list. Ticket action, oh, it's not 2 step down, it's a same folder. Sorry guys, that must be 1 dot. Okay, the error is gone. That was meant to be in the same folder. Okay, let's go back again in our ticket list page here. So what happened here is, guys, we are importing the useDispatch from the React Redux, and defining that one as a dispatch here, use dispatch, and then using this dispatch to actually dispatch the action which we created in our ticket action here. And what happens when we dispatch from there, we will trigger this function and we will receive dispatch as a second function, and then inside there we can dispatch any of the action creator which we created earlier in our ticket slice here. So every time we call them, we also pass the parameter. We can pass the parameter as well from the action here, and if we don't have parameter, we simply send the empty bracket, and if we have a parameter, we send here like so here. And let's save the file and see. We wanted to see what's coming in the console. Now when the page is loading, actually, yeah, you can already see here the action is fired. So if you go to the initial stage, there is nothing. When our tickets list slash fetch loading, so the types are defined as per our name in our ticket slice here. So it's like a ticket slash fetch ticket loading slash ticket success slash fetch ticket fail. So these are the name given from there. So again, let's go back here. See, ticket list, and then that one. So when first it's loading, saying this one is changes and then this one changes. If you see in the state, initially we have is loading and is ticket is loading false. If you go to the fetch ticket loading, you'll see it's true, and then if you go to the success, it gets false. We didn't have ticket yet because I wanted to see in our console first what's coming in our data. See, this is the data we are getting from this console here, from this console. So I wanted to exactly see first how deep the data is. So to request the data, we need to go inside the data and inside the result. So data dot result will have all these arrays. So here I'm gonna say result dot data dot array result. Let's save that. And if we go to our Redux dev tool, now you should be able to see the data. Let's see, go to the state. First there is nothing, and is loading false, and now is loading true, no data yet. Now boom, we have a ticket in our state. Now is loading is false, and we have all the tickets in our state. Let's say we have a issue with the calling data. I'm gonna create some intention error here when you save that. Now see, in the initial state, again nothing, is loading is false, and then is loading is true while loading, and now we have a fetch ticket fail triggered where we have the error message actually. So we don't have ticket, so that's done as well. So let's put that back again, save that, and now we have the ticket. So great, that part is done. And now what we have to do is mount this ticket in this table. So how can we do that? So again, we need to get the help from the React Redux. So as we use here React, as we use here React Redux useDispatch, we can use something called useSelector. So before we go that, you see our page is loaded, but actually the ticket is rendered from our ticket here. See, we have passed the list of the parameter props here, ticket list as a props to our ticket table. Now we don't have to pass from here. Actually, we can go to that ticket and then pull the ticket of this ticket from the state. As I mentioned earlier in the document here, if we want to paste the ticket, we don't have to go through the parent component. We can simply go all the way to our global state and fetch whatever we need to update our component. So let's do that. Go to our ticket table, and here we need to import useSelector. Every time we have a state here, global state, the useSelector will allow us to access to the whole global state. From there, we can only pull this ticket slice. Now what I'm going to do here, just inside the function, I'm going to say const. Okay, I'll leave this one first, open. So now you can use useSelector, and this one will pass the whole state, the whole global state. And from there, we are only interested in the tickets. And inside the ticket, now you can access all the property. So we have a tickets is loading an error. So you can say ticket. There you go. So actually you need to return from here. So as I said, we have access to, I'm gonna cut that out. So the useSelector will give us whole state, and from here we can simply return what we are interested in, which is state.ticket. Like that, we simply using ES6 syntax to return the state.ticket, only this portion of the state. And from there we are only interested in tickets, and now we don't need to get the ticket as a props. Remove that. Now we can straight away access to this ticket, and at the bottom we don't need this props type. Check. Now I'm gonna move that out, and if we go to our application, we might have a little bit change here. As you can see, we don't have an ID and then open date, because the way we are using in our dummy file, we are using ID, but we receive not ID, we receive underscore ID for ID here. So we access that. Let's pass underscore on all the IDs, and instead, okay, this one as well. And instead of added at, we have open at. That's how we used in our database. So let's save that. Okay, everything is now updated here. There you go. This is how you mount in your component. So if you refresh, it goes through the empty state to is loading state to the success state. And what we can do now, basically utilize of our is loading state here, and say, let's say before returning whole table, you can simply say if is loading, then we can return, let's say I'm gonna do S3 now. We can put a spinner in the other tutorial, but for now let's focus on Redux Toolkit. And if we have error, then we can again return from here only the error. When I save the file, let's see, you will see something happening here. Save the file. See, did you see that loading? That was quick because it's fetching quickly from database. And let's make intention error in our action. I'm gonna just pass to the wrong parameter, the wrong URL, and save that. And when we have an error, we have an error message showing here from our state, like so. Okay, now we have successfully added our Redux in our React application. We have fetched the data from external API and mount in our application. So that's probably all you need to know to work with the React, Redux, and the Redux toolkit. Now whatever we are doing is kind of repeating the process. So not everything, only in the ticket slice and the action. So let me show you how we can achieve the source function. If I search it, it's not working here. So it still shows the everything here. When I do SSL, we should only get SSL, this certificate, this ticket only. So we can achieve that again through the React Redux. Let's go to our the ticket page here. Let's do a few things first. In our ticket table here, we are not receiving any parameter, props. Now we don't need to send the props here. We can remove that. And since we remove that, we don't need this display ticket thing at all. We can remove that. And we don't need that. Let me save, make sure it still works. Page number 19, the line number 19. I'm supposed to remove the display ticket and leave the dispatch here. Make sure everything still works here. It's working all fine. Previously, like, we have imported the search form here, and we have passed the function here to do all the search result, and then based on our list here we do search query and pass down the props and do the work again. So we don't have to do anything now. Just simply delete that. We simply do the search here, because now since we can access to the Redux store from any component to update any part of the Redux state, we don't have to pass the props from parent component to child component. Now we can go to the actual component where the action is happening and update the Redux store from there. So since we don't need that, we don't need this one, I'm gonna just delete that. And if you are guys just following along with this tutorial only, and if you don't have this defined function already, you don't have to worry about them. That's why I wanted to clean up and make sure the app still works. Now the source function doesn't do anything here. Now we are done with this ticket listing page. Let's go to our source form. I'm gonna close that ticket list page since we don't need them. So in the source form again, so what we need is we need the React Redux. Okay, I'm gonna delete this one, we don't need that. Let's import dispatch. Use dispatch from React dispatch, and here what we can do on handle change, let's define the function here, say const handle, and we receive event here as a parameter, and it's an arrow function here, and then we will receive two things in that event. Basically we use name of the input and the value inside the input. So from e.target, I'll just quickly show you so that you know what's happening here. That's equals to, and save the file. And if we go to our component here, okay, what's the error again? Okay, yeah, we are not receiving any props, guys. Just remove that because we don't have to. Now everything we can be done within the component, and we are not passing the value here. Okay, so if we go to console, so if we type something here, hang on, misspelling target, e.target, save that file, and when you do, let me empty this console. So when you do search, you see you get everything here. That's actually you're getting whole event of the input field here, this input field. But if you just do destructure the name and value and console that, you can only see what's the name of the input, which is search string, and the inputted value here. So here what we are going to do, we only need value first. Let me delete that. So let's go to our action. So here let's create a new action. So this action will help us to trigger the action creator which we created here in our ticket slice. Actually we haven't created that too. Let's do that first. So let's go to the ticket slice. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the whole ticket in the selected ticket first, or source ticket, and then when we do query every time on that form box, we will select the ticket from the list of the ticket here and then put into our selected ticket, or search ticket list here. So let's, you know what we do, when we have a ticket in initial state, first let's pass the ticket, all ticket, because when we're loading we want all the ticket. And then once we have all the ticket, now later we create another reducer. Let's say search tickets. That's the another reducer where we will receive state again and the action. Actually I'm gonna destructure here, payload, and again arrow function, and I'm gonna need only this part of the state. So before that we need to filter the ticket, right? We're going to receive the payload as a string here, the source string. So now let's filter the ticket from our whole ticket state. So this one holds all the ticket, right? So do all ticket dot filter. We're going to use filter function. That's the JavaScript function. It returns a row, each row, and what we are going to filter is, first let's say in payload we have string. Okay, if there is nothing in the payload, let's say it's an empty string, we return the row, right? So the row we will be returning to that. So okay, here this ticket we cannot access directly, we have to access through the state, like so. So now we are going to our state and accessing to our all the tickets, and we are filtering, and when we do filter function we get row and it will iterate over the array. And now there, if we are checking in our payload, we will have a string, the search string we have before in our application here. Whatever we search, this string will come here and return. So the row has subject, and make sure we make it to lowercase, otherwise search won't work, because you don't know when client is searching they are using exactly same case or using lowercase. So better always to lowercase, and we call a function called dot includes whatever we pass here. Basically what happens, whatever we pass here, it will check whether that thing is included in this string or not. Includes the payload, let's make it to lowercase as well. If this condition is satisfied and true, then the row will be returned to the state. So this way now it should work. So let's export this action creator again here from action, because it will be available in our actions because of our Redux Toolkit. And now we can import this one in our action again, because we need to dispatch from here. So let's create another function. First let's import that. Let's import here on the top, and let's dispatch this one from here. Let's create another function to dispatch it, like how we did in the fetch all ticket. So I'm gonna say const filter search ticket, and we will receive string, also where it comes from, and we will also receive dispatch. I'll tell you about that too. And here simply we are going to dispatch the source ticket action creator, like so, and we pass the string here. And now let's export that, and now we can import this function action in our search component. Let's import this one is, where is it? Let's see. I think you need to go to action, go to the page and the search page and into the ticket list here. Yeah, so I'm gonna say go 2 step up, go to pages slash ticket list slash ticket action. Actually guys, you can put guys, you can only create this function inside the new file next to the search from here, so that you don't have to go that far. But for now I just wanted to put in same file so that we can see all the for the ticket only. So now we can dispatch this function here where we are doing unhandled change, because we have the value, right, search string. Let's dispatch. So let's create the dispatch variable here. So we are basically repeating what we did with the ticket list before. Dispatch equals to useDispatch, a function, and here in our handle on change, let's use that dispatch to dispatch our action creator and pass this value as a string and save that. So let me quickly run down again. What happened is we are using useDispatch from React Redux, and we are also importing the filter search ticket action, and we are dispatching this action using this dispatch here. We're providing the parameter here, and when we go to what happens when we dispatch here, it will trigger this function which is inside the ticket action, and it will receive the string we provided and the dispatch we use for dispatching the actual function. And here using that dispatch, we are dispatching the another action creator, which is we imported from the ticket slice, and we are passing that string here. So what happens when we go to this ticket search tickets action creator here, we receive string that we send here, this one, inside our payload here, and simply here we are accessing to our ticket list of our state here, all the ticket list here for like so, and we are filtering the row, and each row we are checking if the subject has the text that client has searched through this search text box. If that's the case, we return the row, otherwise we skip that row. And if there is nothing in the search text, then we simply return the whole row, so which is basically is full list of the ticket is these ones. Okay, let's save this file now and let's try to search. You can see the action is firing from here, and when you check it, look at the state, what happens. So we have all the ticket now, and if we go to the search ticket here in our search ticket list, now we only have 1 ticket instead of 4 ticket. In order for us to update this table now, we need to go back to this ticket table, where instead of receiving tickets, now we have to receive another props which is available in our state search ticket. See, we are before accessing the tickets, now we need to access this search ticket list which we have in our slice in our state, this one. Let's go to the ticket table, and instead of tickets, let's access to this and update this ticket to search ticket list and save that, so it will now work all good. Now these are the ticket. Let's say I'm gonna access to this ticket only. If I do C, because none of the other ticket have a C word here, if I do C only, we got this ticket. If I just take it out, we load all. If I do form, we have only form related issue. So there you go, guys. We are successfully able to implement the search functionality through the Redux store using the Redux Toolkit logic. Now I'm gonna just clean up a little bit and set that search from. Okay, one more thing I would like to do is, normally when we create this action here, see how we're using Axio to call the action here. I like to separate this the API calling outside the actual action here. So to do that, simply we want to create the folder inside the SRC. I'm going to call API, and inside API I'm going to call ticket API .js, and this is better and much cleaner to read the code. So I'm going to take everything out from here, and I'm going to call a function which we haven't created yet. So let's say await get all tickets, and let's import this not created ticket yet, so we don't need Axio yet here. Axio here. Let's remove that. So I'm gonna import that. Maybe do here. So it should be inside our API folder. Inside API folder, we have the file called ticket API. Yeah, I'm gonna write the same name, get all tickets, and let's create that function. Let's save that. It's gonna throw an error, just ignore that. And inside here, let's import Axios first, and inside we write get all ticket function, definitely error function, and inside we will do try catch, and inside the try, now we call this Axio function. So here I'm gonna say const result equals to, we get that, and since we are using wait, make sure to put async here, otherwise again it's gonna cry. And we got the result, and if we have error, we can, okay, I want to return as a promise, but so simply say return new promise result or reject. Actually we need to wrap this one. Let's wrap inside the another parenthesis and call this function, and let's do all this try catch stuff inside the promise. And here we reject the error, reject error, and here we will resolve result. If I save that, it will still work. Okay, async now here, async here. Save that, result, not result, result. Save that and export this function. Actually, you can just export from the same line and save that. Now if we go back in our application, it still works. Yeah, all good. So this is better. Okay, this is the best practice instead of running code inside our action here. Okay, we don't need that. Now code is much cleaner, couple line only. Save that. All right guys, that's pretty much all. Let's see any error in our console. Tickets is defined but not used. In our ticket list page, we don't need that if we are not using it. Actually, we are not using whole state, so we don't need that. We don't need this, and we don't need dummy ticket now anymore, and we don't need to use state. Save that. Okay, the few error is gone. Leave this warning as it is for now. I'm gonna push this code to repo guys, so that you guys have the code ready straight away when you want to see. There you go guys, the code is available in the Git repo. I'll put the Git repo link in the description below. Thanks for watching guys, hope you liked the tutorial. If you did, then please give me a thumbs up, and if you have any question or query, please write in the comment section down below. I'll check them and respond as soon as possible, or you can join me in the Discord channel, and if you have any question, you can ask me there as well. In the next tutorial, we are going to continue with this application and work on the login logout functionality, where we'll be connecting our application to backend API, and then we will use our JSON web token to verify, authorize before we allow client to access to the private route. So if you haven't subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel so that you don't miss any of my tutorials. Till then, stay awesome code every day guys, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.